It was only a matter of time before Formula 1 teams started to drop their 2021 development and focus on next year's all-new formula. Although F1 teams have been able to do simultaneously both in the past, this transition isn't quite the same. After all, there's the small matter of a cost cap to trifle with this time around. As the legendary Ron Swanson once opined, "Never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing." The only question left was the point at which the teams were going to pull the trigger on 2021 and focus on next year, unless you're Haas and did that before even the first race. We'll find out in 2022 whether that's a galaxy brain strategy. After the Styrian Grand Prix, the 8th round of this year's championship, Mercedes finally announced that it had called quits on developing the W12 for this year. Team principal Toto Wolff said it's a very tricky decision, because we are having new regulations not only for next year, but for years to come, a completely different car concept. And you've got to choose the right balance, and pretty much everybody is going to be on next year's car. No doubt that decision was made even trickier than the fact that Mercedes is not only in the middle of a title battle, but also at a time where Red Bull seems to be improving with every race that goes by. So Mercedes' move surprised Red Bull team boss Christian Horner, who said that he didn't believe that Mercedes would stop adding development so early. And after all, Red Bull added a few minor additions into the mix ahead of the Austrian doubleheader, and Max Verstappen dominated the Styrian Grand Prix as Hamilton was unable to keep up with the Dutch driver's pace. Mercedes' decision to call quits on its development for this year means that theoretically the gap will only grow if Red Bull continues to keep its development up. But that said, Mercedes says it will not give up on the title fight and will concentrate on making the best out of what it already has in order to bridge the gap. So what can Mercedes do to beat Red Bull? The first naturally will be what the team does with setup. There are lots of different parameters to play with, aero configuration, suspension setups and engine modes that it can make use of to coax more performance out of the W12. Getting on top of understanding the car in practice and tailoring the setup to the tracks with the reams of data available will therefore be much more crucial. But on the flip side, not having to bed in any new parts and understand how they work can give Mercedes a bit more time to understand what it already has, so it's something of a double-edged sword. Mercedes has also struggled to get the best out of the tyres this year, so finding out more about them over a race weekend, especially when the rear tyres are changed in the next few races to ones with harder sidewalls, can also help to claw back further performance. Despite Mercedes' switch to 2022 development, technical director James Allison has since clarified the situation, adding that there were still things in the food chain from prior to that focus switch, including more aerodynamic change as well as some upgrades to the power unit. In short, Mercedes does have a few more bits and pieces already in the pipeline for the W12, but the pipeline itself will be closed off to make more room for exploring the extremities of the 2022 rule set. After all, it's important to finish what you've started, and any last dregs of development already in the works could make all the difference. Another aspect that has become incredibly vital in the 2021 championship battle is with strategy, which helped Mercedes win in Spain, but not in France, as Red Bull took the initiative with another stop. So Mercedes will have to pick the right time to be conservative, and the right time to think outside of the box, and force Red Bull into reacting. The upcoming Austrian Grand Prix, for example, will take place at the same Red Bull ring, but with the tyres a grade softer. This means that if the weather remains similar, the race will likely switch into a two-stopper, something that the teams fighting for victory must be on top of. There will be circuits that suit Red Bull more, and Mercedes must ensure that it performs in those races too, in order to lessen the points deficit between them. But equally, Mercedes will also have circuits in which it has the better car, and also needs to ensure that both cars are firing on all cylinders to take the points home it's capable of scoring. That falls into working with setup, choosing the right aero balance, and understanding the tyres to put together a strong sequence of races. Mercedes has been consistently strong at circuits like Spa, Sochi and Austin, and need to exploit those tracks and hope the W12 is up to continuing that run of performance. But let's not forget Red Bull also has circuits like Hungary and Mexico coming up that will likely swing in its favour, and depending on what happens with the end of season run-in with regards to the calendar, could also have Interlagos on its side. There's also the likes of Zandvoort and Jeddah, which will be unknown quantities, as will Turkey to some extent, and there it'll be down to whichever team is on the ball fastest in practice. Although they're limited by the cars, it's also up to the drivers to make some of the difference. Verstappen and Hamilton are on top of their game, and if they've got a car capable of winning, they'll take those opportunities 99.9% of the time. But a bit of magic from either can also swing the difference in either team's favour. But those drivers also need their wingmen. Now Sergio Perez is finding his feet with the Red Bull, he's giving the team much more latitude with their strategies, and by staying in the mix, he's interrupting anything Mercedes can retaliate with. Valtteri Bottas needs to be on his game too, needs to shake any doubts about his future from his mind to return to being the consistently effective deputy for Hamilton that he's been so before. The bottom line is, both teams need to get absolutely everything right, and any single mistake can have huge knock-on consequences for either team, even something as tiny as a slow pit stop or a mistimed lockup. There's still everything to play for between the two teams, and although this is the biggest title challenge Mercedes have had, it can't give up just yet.